Hi, everyone. We're live from the road with my team. You can see some of them in the shot. Say hi. Content, producer John. What are you guys doing? Were you bopping with the music? What were you doing when the music was on? Uh, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm so happy that you're here. Lemon Live at 5. We're so sorry about this morning. I was traveling. We got to the airport just in time. I thought I'd have some time to do the 10 a.m., the Hot Topic show. Didn't have time to do that. But here we are. And again, back on the road. And we kind of have this down pat a little bit. Wait till you hear all the stuff that we're hearing from the road. Wait till you hear all the stuff that we're hearing from the road. It's a lot of stuff. And again, some surprising answers. I don't know if I would say that I'm shocked, but some surprising answers. Some people are going to be happy about what we're hearing, others are not. And I just want you guys to know, as we're doing this road tour stuff, right? This battleground state stuff. I know some people are like, hey, we want to hear more positive things about Trump, or we want to hear more positive things about Vice President Kamala Harris. Why can't you get people who know stuff? This is what you should know. We don't curate these interviews. We don't really lead people. We don't lead people in these interviews. I'm not going to unless they're struggling to find a word or something and they're on track, I may say, okay, help them out a little bit. But we don't edit them perceptively. These are exactly the thoughts of the people and the words of the people who we are interviewing. And so again, I know it's upsetting to some people to hear some of this stuff. We spoke to a lot of folks who are undecided at this point, especially mostly college students so far, because we went to FC Florida Central UCF. University of Central Florida, one of the largest really universities in the country. I think it's got the highest enrollment out of almost any school. So we went there and spoke to some people. But a lot of these kids are first-time voters. I should say students. You can call them kids. They're first-time voters. And a lot of them are undecided because they've been in their studies. So Trevor Kelly says, I voted yesterday. Harris Walls 2024. Okay. Don, it should read, I don't know what that's saying. Hello from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm so glad. Yeah, UCF. So thank you, Winston Sayer, for that. Hello from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Thank you, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm glad that you're here. So thank you again. Look, and so we have a lot to get to. You saw the thumbnail up. It says size matters. I had to put that thumbnail up. I'm going to tell you about all the things that we're seeing, some of the things that we're seeing. But also I'm going to talk to you about the former president and his obsession with another person's you-know-what. And so we're live on several platforms. We're live on, of course, on the YT, our original platform. And we're also live on TikTok. And so if you're joining us from TikTok, make sure you hit the heart. Make sure you follow us as well. And we're running our comments up on the original UT channel. You can join us, the Don Lemon Show, over there and get your comments on. They're up on the screen now. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. We're live from the Sunshine State of Florida is where we are now. What did you say? You said I was your creative director. The producer of my social media, Chris, is he should know. Where are we? Do you know where we are?
We're in Palm Coast right now.
We're in Palm Coast, Florida, and we're heading up. We started off in Orlando this morning, and then went from Orlando to Daytona to Jacksonville. And so you're going to see all the content along the way, and then you'll finally catch up with us, and we'll be day of in just a little bit. So we're live from Florida, which is it's the first leg of my swing state tour. Florida is not exactly a swing state. You could be able to, hang on one second, go live again. We got knocked off the platform because of this service. Let's see if we can get back up. Okay, we're live again. So Florida, people always say Florida is possibly a swing state. It's going to turn. We hear that a lot. Because I don't know. What is that?
It's okay.
Check it out. Fix it. You can fix it. Take it away. So we hear that a lot from Florida and Texas, and then very rarely does it happen. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to be live from Georgia. Then we're going to be live in North Carolina. Then we're going to do Virginia, and then the all-important Commonwealth state of Pennsylvania. We'll also go through Jersey as well. So some of the states we're going to, not exactly swing states, not exactly battleground states, but we're going to go and talk to you about all of that. Also, I'm going to be making a few other stops too. So be sure that you like and subscribe here, and make sure you follow me on Twitter. You follow me on IG. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, and to get all the latest updates. So maybe you can catch me on the road if we are in your town. Would love for you guys to be able to come and check us out. Hi, Nappy Child. Good to see you. Thank you for your comment. That's up on the screen there. So, but enough about that. We've got can you believe it's 15 days? I mean, it's literally 2 weeks exactly almost. Tomorrow it will be 2 weeks until the election. Can you believe that? 15 days left until election day. Harris and Trump are making their closing arguments to voters. And let's just say they're both doing quite different things. Okay. So when I said that, on the thumbnail up that we have size matters, this really confounded and confused a lot of people. Not exactly sure why the former president would talk about this, about, a person's private parts or whatever, but he did. This is him talking about the former golfer, Arnold Palmer, to a crowd of people at a rally. Here it is.
But Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. But this is a guy that was all man. This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, oh my God, that's unbelievable. I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here.
Okay, so why would he say that? I mean, it's interesting to me. I don't know why. Some people, I think, loved it. Some people found it confounding. What did you think about that moment? Did you guys think that that was appropriate? A little odd for someone? I think that his daughter spoke out and said that she did not like that, and she actually said that her dad is not very fond of Donald Trump. Okay, so Donald Trump also there have been two different sort of barbershop tours going on. A barbershop tour for the Trump folks. One of it held at least on Fox News. They at least taped it. I'm not sure who sponsored it. Perhaps they were the sponsor. And then there's another one that's being held, other ones that are being held. I agree with you, Lynette Edis. It's disgusting. Debbie Wilcox said the same thing. And then there's another one that's being held by the Harris Wall folks and people who are in her campaign or in her that is trying to educate people. I'm going to start with, since we're on the subject of Donald Trump, I'm going to start with that. This is his folks who are at the town hall that he is holding, and the one that Fox News is taping. So here it is.
They haven't gone down.
How do you get to the bottom of this?
So here's what we're doing. Number one, it all began with the oil. They screwed around with what I did with oil. We were energy independent. You remember back 4 or 5 years ago, $1.87 for a gallon of gas. We actually had it lower than that for your car, $1.87. Now it's at 3.5, but it was much higher. They brought back my policies to break even, but by that time the damage was done, and now you have inflation and you have the cost so high, and they haven't gone down. We're going to do two things. Interest rates are going down. It's going to be brought down. It's going to be brought down fast, but much more importantly and quicker, we're going to drill, baby, drill. You've heard that, right? Drill, baby, drill. We're going to get our oil. We're going to have much more of it. That we're going to do 4 to 5 times
pause it,
more
please.
than we're doing.
Pause it, please. Okay, so the question was about getting inflation down. And he just says about the economy, he just says, we're going to get inflation down. Doesn't exactly say how to get inflation down, because inflation and oil production are not really the same thing, right? One doesn't really affect the other that much. Look, it'd be great to have cheaper gas prices, but that's really not a solution and not an answer to the question. The other thing where he says we're going to drill, baby, drill, and then we're going to produce. We are producing more energy at any time in the history of this country right now. And so he's trying to portray something that's completely different than what's actually happening. We are, the vice president now has said that she is not going to stop fracking. I know that says that she sort of pivoted or really changed her stance on fracking, but during all of her town halls and her interview, she says, "Look, I'm not going to stop. We did not ban fracking when I was vice president. We have not banned fracking since we entered the White House, and I don't plan on banning fracking." So again, a little bit here of a misconception by the president, or just some misinformation, because again, we are producing more energy in this country than any time in the country's history. So let's see if he can continue on. Let's see if he answers the question.
Right now, we can do that. These people are amazing. They can do it. And we'll be supplying it to Asia. We'll be supplying it to Europe. We'll be supplying it to everywhere. And that's going to bring down prices. It's going to bring down the cost of everything. If you make donuts, when you look at these stores, they have trucks that deliver, they have stoves and ovens, you have your lighting, you have all this, equipment, and all of that electric equipment that he's using on your beautiful head of hair. You have a good looking head of hair. I'm jealous. Look at that flat top. I'd have a flat top.
Okay, pause.
You never had.
So he went on to talk about somebody's hair. I think probably because he didn't have an answer to the person's question. So how can I pivot? How can I deflect here? And so he deflected to the guy's head of hair. I'm sure the guy has a beautiful head of hair, but again, it doesn't answer the question that people are talking about for everything from donuts and whatever. I know he's trying to do the weave and connect all of it, but if you listen to economies, especially those who specialize in energy, one doesn't really have to do with the other. If you're, listening to his so-called answer, let's continue.
You never had a hair loss problem, did you? It's lucky. He's one of those gifted ones. Anyway, what you do, those machines are very expensive. They're running the machines that electric. When that comes down, like in a shop like this, no matter what you do, it's about energy. We're going to bring it down. We're going to get the prices down. How's your rent?
Okay. Again, now, just be honest. Trump rarely answers the question, says Sarah Habib. Did you understand the answer? If you did, let me know. I know he's trying to say that everything has to do with energy and electric and what have you, but some things are battery operated, right? Right. Not everything actually has to do with energy, which is again why they're trying to get fossil fuel energy, not to get rid of it, but to get it under control and become less reliant on it. And so producing more, how's he going to do it? How's he just going to open up and drill, baby, drill everywhere? There's also an environmental cost to that no one addressed at that town hall. Okay, again, Trump is on a barbershop tour, as we said. Artificial foods he's talking about. Again, now he's asking, the question is, what are you going to do about artificial foods, and how are you going to get rid of it? He brings Robert Kennedy Jr. into it. And again, I want you to be honest and tell me if you think this answers the question. Watch.
And to do about the food healthcare industry and getting the artificial foods banned in our urban communities that have less access to organic whole foods.
So, Bobby Kennedy, right? Everybody likes Bobby Kennedy. And he's so big into the health food and women, things, everything. He wants to do things in the environment. And he endorsed me. First time a Kennedy's ever endorsed a Republican. Maybe it's going to be the last, but I doubt it. And he's a great guy. He would be so perfect. He doesn't like artificial foods, and he doesn't like pesticides and all the stuff they put on them. And if you listen to him for 10 minutes, he says other countries that don't do anything are healthier than us, okay? We're not that healthy, to put it mildly. So no artificial foods. We don't want artificial. We have plenty of food. The food isn't our problem. And our farmers are great. And our farmers aren't allowed to do their job. Our farmers did great 4 years ago. They were doing just about the best they've ever done. They're not doing well at all now.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Again, not an answer. What are you going to do to get rid of artificial foods? I'm going to bring in Robert Kennedy to do it. And no concrete answer. And then he, pivots or deflects to talk about the farmers. And then 4 years ago, everything was great. Now, just remember, 4 years ago, at this point, what was happening? We were, 4 years ago in 20, we were in the middle of COVID. and there was nothing, not even food on the shelves. Let's just remember that. So we weren't so great 4 years ago as it relates to food and um, the production chain. So there we go. Let's listen.
We're not going to have artificial foods. We don't want artificial foods. We want healthy foods. And a lot of things are going to be going. And I'll tell you, I'm going to have Bobby Kennedy involved in it. He's a great guy. And even the way when I mentioned his name, all you guys, and you're tough cookies. You know, you wouldn't think, sometimes you'd say, maybe you wouldn't like a guy like Bobby. But he's a person that talks more about food and health than anything else. So I think that's cool. So we'll get it taken care of. You'll be healthier in 4 years from now than you are now, and you look very healthy to me, by the way.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so again, it's a joke. We're going to bring in Bobby Kennedy. That's all he talks more about health and food than anybody else. Also, remember, he is a vaccine anti-vaxxer. He is a COVID denier in many ways, and a conspiracy theorist. And that's who he's going to get involved in all of this. So that will be interesting to see if that indeed happens. Look, and it could happen on election day if you choose someone else, if you choose him to be your president, or if you don't go to the polls, that could happen. Okay, this is the most interesting one that has been, that is just really confounding and perplexing to a lot of people, because he talks a lot about, they brought this transgender into it as a wedge issue, right? Transgenderism affects such a small percentage of our population, and he knows it, but he continues to make it an issue because he thinks, or he knows, that people are going to vote on it. If you ask people, how many transgender people do you know? How many trans people are actually in your life? How many transgender people do you actually come in contact with? Probably not a whole lot. How many transgender people are involved in the sports in your school or in your town or anywhere? Not a lot. But it's a fear tactic about a group of the population that people don't know about, and that people are actually afraid of, and so they try to make it a wedge issue. This is him on the Barbershop tour talking about kids going to school one gender and coming home another gender, as if it could happen overnight. Here it is.
Bronx. What are we
They're
going to do?
failing.
What are we going to do to improve that in our school systems?
Well, we're moving them back from Washington, where you have people that don't care about New York, frankly. You know, in Washington, I don't know if you ever noticed this, you go Department of Education, Department of Education. You got half the buildings are Department of Education. I never saw. You don't need any of them. You know, I want one person and a secretary to just make sure they're teaching English, okay? Give it a little English, okay? I say reading, writing, and arithmetic. No transgender, no operations. You know, they take your kid. There are some places, your boy leaves the school, comes back, a girl, okay? Without parental consent. What is that all about? That's when they talk about a threat to democracy, they're a threat. Could you imagine, without parental consent? At first, when I was told that was actually happening, I said, you know, it's an exaggeration. No, it happens. It happens. There are areas where it happens. We're not going to let it happen.
Okay, now the question was about improving schools, and he turned it into an issue about transgender people, saying that, you know, all of a sudden your kid goes to school a boy and comes home a girl. Now, that would be some real advancement in not just surgery for gender reassignment surgery, but for anything. You can go and have a major surgery that most people have to spend time in the hospital and months recuperating from, and you can go and get it done within a few hours at school. Man, that's amazing. I know I did see some people laughing there. They know that that is not possible. And yes, you're right, Clint Westman. It is fear-mongering. It is fear-mongering. It's sad. So if you're following our tour around the, at least up the eastern seaboard, sort of, from Florida, we're going to go inland a little bit to Atlanta and so on. But if you're following us, we are in Florida, in the Sunshine State, and we're heading to some more stuff in Florida. We're going to head to Georgia. We're going to head to Virginia. We're going to head to North Carolina, South Carolina. Where else are we going? New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So yeah. And so, anyways, yeah, it does sound, and we're going to go to DC. Now, I know some of these aren't swing states or battleground states, but we just want to get a pulse from the people on our way up through the country. So again, making something, using hate in order to drive people and fear, drive people to the polls. And is it going to work? Maybe it is. Some of the things we're hearing on the road, it could possibly work. Okay. Um, that's not the only thing. I'm going to show you the Harris Walls barbershop tour in a bit, but that's not the only thing that the former president is up to. All right. This weekend, he got a new job. Did you guys see his new job? Anybody see his new job? At first, at first glance, when I took a look at it, and look, my producers had to straighten me out because I put something on social media. I really thought that it was they had brought Ronald McDonald back. And I was like, look, they brought back Ronald McDonald and also a body positive Ronald McDonald. Because if you remember, Ronald McDonald was tall and slim. And the Ronald McDonald that I thought I was seeing was like not so tall and chubby, right? But it turns out it wasn't Ronald McDonald. I want you to take a look at it. You can tell me who it is. But here is a shorter, thicker Ronald McDonald, or maybe it's Donald McDonald. Check it out.
Everybody.
Indy is here. This is Indy. She has an apron for you.
And good job on the first
I
day.
think I should take
President
off.
Trump.
Should I take off my jacket? I think so. The press wants to see this. Oh, he's a wealthy guy. He owns a lot of McDonald's. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Oh, I think it's good. You want to do it? Yeah.
Mr. Trump, what's your favorite thing to order at McDonald's?
I like it all. I like every ounce of it, everything. But I do like the French fries where I'll be working. I listened to Kamala. She said it was so hot. It was so hot. It was such a tough job. But then you have a man that's been doing it for many years with the French fries, right?
We're going to learn everything.
I'm going to learn how to do it right now. Thank you.
Welcome here.
Look, I don't know if that's the the own that he thinks it is to say that she thought it was a tough job. I don't think working at McDonald's is such an easy job. I don't think it's a cushy job. It's certainly not a high paying job. As someone who worked there, who started out, like at first they put me on the grill. I don't know if it's the same sort of thing. I'm not sure how they make the burgers now. I should go check it out, right? Should I go check it out again? So I started off on the fries. I think I was on the fries. I think that's where I started. And it was tough because you have to time it. If you make too many too fast, then they get cold and people want their more fries. Or if you put too much salt on them, or if you make them too slow, like everybody orders fries at McDonald's, then you get in trouble, right? And then you got to clean it because then the salt thing becomes sticky, the fries become sticky, and the scoop and all of that. And so I'm not sure exactly how they do it now. But it wasn't such an easy job. Look, it's not brain surgery, but it certainly wasn't an easy job. And then I was on the grill, right? And then back then, when I was there were two different grills. There was one grill for the small patties that were for the Big Macs and the hamburgers. Big Macs and hamburgers, back in my day, had the same patties. And so that was on one grill. And then the grill next to it was for the bigger burgers, which were quarter pounders. So there was a quarter grill, and then there was the burger grill or the Big Mac grill. And everything like had beeps, right? You hit the button when you put the thing on, you took the brick, like the frozen patty, you put it on the grill, and then it beeps when it tells you to turn it, and you flip it over, and then it beeps when it tells you it's done. And then you have to hand it off to the person behind you who's ever making the burgers. So some people were cooking, some people were preparing. Again, this is back in the day. I don't know how they do it now. So I don't think he's trying to insult the vice president by saying she said it was so hard. I actually think it's hard work. And I commend people who work at fast food joints, work at McDonald's, wherever it is, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, or whatever it is. I commend you because I think it's not such an easy job. And I think that you should be paid more for that job. But again, I was like, damn, Ronald McDonald. Put the fries in the bag, Donald. Again, that's okay. So Trump's one more thing before I get to the vice president. Uh, there's been some pushback of him, even on from friendly media. They have to push back on him. I want to play this interview. He was on Howard Kurtz, and I forget what Howard Kurtz's show is, but it's a media show where he's supposed to hold the media to account. He sat down with the former president and discussed January 6th. The subject of January 6th came up, and Howard Kurtz tried to push him on it. Howard did not have his facts together. I should have been sitting in that interview because I would have my facts together. And I wonder if you catch it, right? I worked at Whataburger, says Bonnie Skog. Great. Love McDonald's fries, but wouldn't want to be prepared by Trump, says Sarah Beat. I agree. Yeah. Okay. So here is, it's not reliable sources. That's the CNN one. Media something from Howard Kurtz over at the Fox News speaking to the former president. Here it is.
January 6th, the other day you called it a day of love. That sparked a lot of reaction, given that many police officers were attacked and there were mobs shouting, "Hang Mike Pence." Can you understand why many Americans would view it as a dark and tragic day in our history?
The crowd I spoke before, which you rarely see, I have pictures of it, massive, but nobody wants to put them in. It was the biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I've spoken to the biggest crowds. I've never seen that many people. A small group of them, and peacefully and patriotically, which nobody uses. My words were
Pause.
Peacefully.
Okay, it was the biggest crowd that he's now. You remember this first day in office, right? When he was inaugurated, and Sean Spicer, Donald Trump got really upset because his crowd sizes were not as big as Barack Obama's, and the media was reporting it. He became incensed. He forced Sean Spicer, who was his press secretary at the time, to go to the podium in the briefing room at the White House and say it was the largest crowds ever, when if you laid the photos on top of each other, you would see that's not the truth. For people who professionally count, or crowd counters, said it was not true, but he said it anyways. And now he's saying, he said that was the biggest crowd in inauguration history and the biggest crowd on the Mall in Washington. Even said that it was bigger than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington. Not true. And so now he's saying, but the insurrection day, that was the largest crowd he had ever spoken to. So what is it? Is that the largest one, or was it his inauguration? Both are lies. It was a big crowd, but it wasn't the largest crowd, I believe, that he had spoken to. Okay? But maybe it was bigger than his inauguration. Maybe he's admitting it in the moment. Okay, so again, that's a lie. And then he said, I said peacefully and patriotically. He said peacefully and patriotically, while he said, if we don't go and act, we're not going to have a country, and you have to go and take your country back. And then he sent people to the Capitol. There's context to everything. Okay? Let's continue.
And patriotically, a small group went down to the Capitol, but they came because they thought it was a rigged election. This was a protest against a rigged election. And I can't say exactly the number, but I've had massive crowds, and this was by far the biggest crowd. I've spoken to the crowd at the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial on the 4th of July. This crowd was bigger. And I tell you, there was a beauty to it, and there was a love to it that I've never seen before.
But Mr. President,
a small group of people went down to the.
This was the biggest loving, a small group of the Capitol. You have seen it, right? You have seen the video. I know that Donald Trump tries to create, and often does, his own reality. But we have eyes and ears. He is essentially telling people not to believe their own eyes and ears. Some of those folks, some of the MAGA people, are repeating the same bullshit that he's repeating, and they actually believe it. Or they are just, I don't know, reinforcing his lies. The MAGA cult. Okay. When is Howard Kurtz going to jump in and say, wait a minute, this was not a peaceful protest or a peaceful tour? or none of the above. This was not loving. Let's see if Howard jumps in. Here he is.
Capitol. And then a lot of strange things happened, including police ushering them into the Capitol. I mean, you know that. And a lot of strange things. So I'm not referring to that. I'm saying that when I saw that tremendous crowd, the largest group
Okay,
I've ever
let's
spoken
pause.
to.
Let's pause that. Okay, he's going back to the whole largest crowd I've ever spoken to thing. Okay, we have already addressed that. But he said police officers letting them in or what have you. Did police officers invite them to the Capitol? Were they invited to the Capitol by anyone, any official, any elected representative that day? Did they say, "Hey, we're gonna have a crowd of people to come in to do a tour"? No. Remember, the Capitol belongs to American citizens, but you must conduct yourself in a respectful manner when you get there, just like any other building, right? There's security because there are lawmakers in there, and you have to follow the rules. The police officers that day were overwhelmed. And so if you're overwhelmed and you can't stop people from coming in, what are you going to do? All right. So they were not invited into the Capitol by people. They were not ushered in. Police officers were overwhelmed, and Capitol Police and security were overwhelmed by the number of people coming in. Again, the largest crowd he's ever spoken to. Okay, maybe he's saying his inauguration crowd was small. All right, let's keep going. I'm gonna stop every time he says a lie. Keep going.
In front of these beautiful monuments. I thought it was actually a beautiful thing. It was a protest.
But
now,
Mr. President,
if other
beautiful.
groups
Let me
protest,
jump in, please.
I know, but when other groups protest, whatever they may be protesting, nobody says anything. It's, they have a right to
but
protest.
there was a lot of violence. 1,200 people pled guilty or were convicted. Almost 600 were charged with assaulting police officers or rioting. Now, you're somebody who says you're on the side of law enforcement, but
Well,
you seem not to have much sympathy for the police on that day.
No, there's nobody closer to the police than I am. Nobody.
Pause.
You take a look.
Okay, so Howard did jump in and talk about all the people who pled guilty, right? Because they were guilty. They broke into the Capitol. They broke the law. Now, this is supposed to be the Back the Blue party, right? He's supposed to be, he says he's nobody's closer to police officers than him. Well, he certainly, if that is true, if he believes that, then he certainly turned his back on police officers that day. A few of them I know. Friends with at least two of them. They do not believe that he supports police officers or backs the blue. Especially when you beat them with flagpoles and sticks and pepper spray and bear spray. And yes, other weapons, concealed weapons, and guns. There's this whole narrative about there were no guns at January 6th. That's a flat out lie. Look at the news reports. There were guns that were confiscated when folks were arrested, and there were guns that they had stored close to the Capitol. So that whole thing about there were no guns is a total effing lie. Let's go.
Look at Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon, people were killed. There was nobody killed here. Nobody had guns here either.
There were people with
Pause.
guns.
Well,
were arrested.
really? I'd like.
Pause. Okay, nobody got killed. That's a lie. Remember, the woman got killed because she wouldn't comply. They told her to get away from the Capitol doors, not to try to break through the barricades. She did, and they shot her. And sadly, she died. Also, the next day or next couple of days later, there was a police officer who died because he had a heart attack. Or heart attack or a stroke, right? From distress from the January 6th insurrection. My friend Michael Fanone suffered a heart attack and a concussion that day. Portland, Oregon. If he goes on to talk about Portland, Oregon and other places where there were riots during George Floyd, there are people who got longer sentences in those places than people during January 6th. And there were people who were prosecuted for all of those incidents in all of those cities. And again, no guns for January 6th in Washington is a total, lie. Let's keep going.
to know. You mean in the rally, or they had some guns at their home?
No,
someplace?
at the rally.
Oh, really? Well, I have not heard that at all. No, I don't think so. They had no guns.
Pause. I had not
They
heard
had
that
no
at all.
guns.
I don't think so. They had no guns. That is a lie. They had guns. I had to keep reiterating that because that's a lie that I hear from the MAGA people all the time and from right-wing media. There were guns. There's video of guns. I don't know if you guys, we don't have time to find it, but we have shown on this show the video of someone shooting a gun during January 6th. Okay, let's go.
That was a peaceful.
So you're comfortable
peaceful
with a
and
day of
patriotic-
love?
No.
You wouldn't modify that?
I'm talking about when I made that speech, I've never seen anything like it. They came down to protest a rigged election. Very simple. They protested an election. And you know what? I think.
Here's the thing: when you say I said peacefully and patriotically or whatever he said, and they came down to protest a rigged election. That is all bullshit because he's lying about it. No court in the land found that there was any sort of anything wrong, anything nefarious about the election. The whole premise of why they were lured down to the Capitol, they were lured down on false pretenses. That is a lie. A lie of the highest degree. 60 plus courts. And what he'll say is, well, they said we had no standing. And how can a president not have a standing? Well, a president is not supposed to be above the law. And if there's absolutely no evidence when you are presenting your case to a judge or a grand jury or whomever to be tried, and they say, well, there's evidence, why are you going to try this case? There's no standing. You cannot will something into reality that's not there. And that's what he's trying to do, create his own reality. But when you're dealing with facts in the law, you cannot create your own reality that way. But he's going to, I'm sure, continue in this interview to try to bullshit everybody. Let's listen.
You have the right to protest in this country.
Well, no one's
you know, if
disputing that,
anybody
but-
else protests, nobody does anything. But take a look at Portland.
Right, but you're going back to another
No,
situation. I'm talking
not.
about that day.
I'm talking about another situation. People got killed. They destroyed the city. They've broken all the storefronts. They tried to tear down the federal courthouse. Take a look at Seattle. They took over Seattle. They took it over. They took over.
Nobody's condoning that either.
Of course. Well, no, but nothing happened to the people that did it. They're not in jail.
Pause
There's
it.
nobody in.
That's not true. And there was destruction in several cities around the country. But those people were, the people who were found, they were able to find, they were found guilty and they were prosecuted. That is a lie. People went to jail. And I believe there's still people in jail for it. They received much harsher, some of them, much harsher sentencing and punishment than folks for January 6th. Again, Howard, come on, man. You know you're sitting down with the president of the United States, the former president of the United States, who has more than a tendency to lie. You got to have your shit together when you're doing that. You just can't let him walk all over you and tell lies. Because remember, people outside of your media bubble, or excuse me, people inside of your media bubble will never, ever hear the truth. Because they keep hearing you not addressing it and him lying about it. People in Portland and Seattle and other cities where they caused destruction and harm during the protests for George Floyd, they were prosecuted and they did face punishment. And guess what? No one condoned that. It should not be condoned. And no one is saying it is a day of peaceful protests. It was a day of love. Let's go.
Jail. Take a look at Minneapolis, the city of this wacky governor, this wacky guy that runs it that's now trying to be vice president. That was death and it was fire. Nobody's ever seen anything. The whole city looked like it was burning down. Nothing happened to those people. The only thing that happened to are these people. Take a look more recently. More recently, about 2 months ago, they had a really bad situation where they put graffiti all over the beautiful limestone lines. They can never be the same because limestone's a soft stone and the stuff will go inside the paint. But they put spray paint on top of lions. It'll be there in 100 years. You're going to see it. No, but they had vicious rights. They were attacking the cops. Nothing happened to them. Only to these people. And I just want fairness. That's all.
General Jim Mattis, who was your
Okay, pause it, please. Was that the end of the clip? It may have been the end of the clip. That's a lie. Yeah, it's tough. Limestone is porous, and it's awful that folks did that. I don't know if the exact circumstances, but the people there also face prosecution. They face justice. When he's saying nothing happened to them, it is a lie. And to compare someone spray painting is awful. You should not be doing it. Right? I hate it when people go into the museums and they try to deface paintings and spray and art and all of that. That should not happen. But to compare that to an insurrection, people trying to overthrow the government, trying to undo the will of the people, those two aren't equal, and they should not be put in the same level. They're not. Okay, I'm going to move on because you guys know he lies, and I do not have to continue with it. Listen, there's a Republican town hall that the vice president had, led by Cheney, who painted the former president Donald Trump as a threat to democracy and national security in a bipartisan appeal to Republicans and undecided voters. This morning, it happened in Chester, Pennsylvania. Okay? She was greeted warmly by the Never Trump Republican crowd. Conversation also spurred debate online on which Republican Harris might tap to be in her cabinet should she win the White House, a pledge that she made earlier this month on The View, and one that she also made during a town hall and also during the debate. Okay? Could it be Liz Cheney? Is it going to be Adam Kinzinger, perhaps? It could be the former lieutenant governor of Georgia. Who knows who it's going to be? Could be Anna Navarro, who's a former Republican and a friend. Okay? So I want to get now to and show you some of the things. This is the Barbershop tour. Well, first, the Cheney town hall. This is, I'm going to show you Harris and Cheney on why she backs Harris. Liz Cheney, here it is.
Well, I think that in this election, and especially here in Pennsylvania, we have the opportunity to tell the whole world who we are. And we have the chance to say, you know, we're going to reject cruelty. We're going to reject the kind of vile vitriol that we've seen from Donald Trump. We're going to reject the misogyny that we've seen from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And we have the chance in this race to elect somebody who you know is going to defend the rule of law. You know Vice President Harris is going to defend our Constitution. We have the chance to remind people that we are a good country. We are a good and honorable people. We are a great nation. And in this race, we have the opportunity to vote for and support somebody you can count on. We're not always going to agree, but I know Vice President Harris will always do what she believes is right for this country. She has a sincere heart, and that's why I'm honored to be here and supporting her in this race.
Okay, look. Let's think about who Liz Cheney is, okay? Because I'm old enough to remember Liz Cheney's father when he was vice president of the United States. And I'm old enough to remember Liz Cheney before Donald Trump took office. Dick Cheney was one of the most conservatives ever. Dick Cheney. Liz Cheney is of that ilk, one of the most conservative of conservatives ever. She believes in the rule of law, she believes in the Constitution, she believes in democracy, and that's why she doesn't believe in Donald Trump. Liz Cheney was conservative on abortion, a woman's right. She was conservative economically. She was a hawk when it comes to defense, and you may want to call her a war hawk. But she was a very conservative, traditional Republican. She even felt that same way about same-sex marriage and LGBTQ rights and issues. her mind was changed when her sister came out because there was someone in her life that it affected, and then she learned, hey, you got to love the person who is your family member. And therefore, if I'm going to love and support the person who's my family member, then I need to embrace it and love and support other people who are members of the LGBTQ community. I cannot be critical on that. So, but she is a conservative's conservative. And now you have Liz Cheney saying, wow, I can't do that. Now, I don't think you guys say, well, Liz Cheney and all the things that I said about her being a conservative, you can't expect Liz Cheney to become a Democrat or liberal overnight. Or be a conservative. That's her thing. As long as she is principled and she believes in democracy, she believes in fairness, she believes in the rule of law, then let her be a conservative. Don't expect her to become a Democrat just because you want her to go further into the side that you believe, that you support. One more from Liz Cheney, and then I'm going to move on. Here it is.
The conversation in the country and the way that the media covers this election, and it's often about the race, who's up in a poll, who's down in a poll, and I don't always feel like we're talking about the stakes enough. And Liz Cheney would not be here if she didn't think that the stakes were very high. And frankly, the Republicans wouldn't be so angry at you if they didn't think you were an effective surrogate as somebody speaking about the stakes.
Some Republicans.
Some Republicans. Hashtag not all Republicans.
I've seen a lot of Republicans. I've seen it, and I know it happens. Who thank her constantly.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
They're going to vote the right way on November 5th. They might not be public about it, but they'll do what they know is right.
There's an interview today over from our friends at the Bulwark. And again, the question's being asked by still a Republican, right? A former Republican on the stage asking the question. She's been on our show before. Okay, I want to get to the barbershop tour for Harris Walls. Now, Harrison Walls, not the vice president, and Governor Walls, not at this particular town hall. But I just want to listen to, I want you to listen to some of the folks who are speaking at this town hall, because some of them are saying the same things that we're hearing out on the road, okay? And it may surprise you. I got to tell you, there are a lot of people who are undecided at this point, all right? This is at a black barbershop. It's a town hall. It's a little bit long. I'm going to go in and out of it. I'll probably just play the beginning of it. But I just want you to see where it starts off, and it talks about supporting black men supporting a woman of color. This is I believe it's in Pennsylvania. Here it is.
Voted in the last 12 years. The last person that stepped up in presidency to me, I felt like let me down a little bit. And I'm trying to figure out if I actually want to be a part of it as far as voting, because I feel like it's a bunch of things a lot of people didn't do.
So it's a presidential election going on? I think y'all know that.
Yeah, I know about it.
So I'm interested. I'm just interested in getting some general thoughts on the election and what you think, what you're hearing.
I mean, I'm not fully against Miss Harris, you know. I'm all for it and everything like that, but she's been kind of like the vice president in the last 4 years. How good has she done that to be able to actually step up as a full president?
Let me ask you this question. How old is your mom, Mariah?
My mom is 56.
What if I told you that they was trying to raise the retirement age on your mother? You'd be frustrated about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's one of the things that's on the line. Trying to raise the retirement age, Social Security. You have any sisters?
Yes.
Or a brother that have kids?
Yes.
Look at them entitlement programs, child care. We come from that. Those food stamps helped us out. So on the other side talking about, we want to cut that, we want to raise the retirement age. My mom is 56. My mom walks with a limp right now. She can't work another 20 years. I take myself out the equation and look at my mother, my grandma. I was sitting at the table, I'm in here. And my grandmother smiled and said, my prescription drugs at the lowest they ever been. But she smiled. I may not ever have that moment again, but seeing that and hearing that from your grandmother, I said, I know who I'm voting for. My grandma never steered me wrong in my life.
Sometimes it's also just about protecting progress too.
Pause. Okay, so this is look, and I love that because this is about educating people. When you sit around and you do a town hall like this, and you do a barbershop tour, and you're not catching people as we do on the fly, you get to sit down and you get to actually have a longer conversation and educate people about the issues. Because this young man in the beginning, I will tell you, he started off in a place that I don't want to give it away because I'm going to go to it in a little bit if we get that far. He ends up in a place that is quite different than where he started. Okay. And so if you get someone, as I said about Liz Cheney, if you make something relatable to people, especially to people they love, it will touch them in ways that they may not have been touched in, ways and it will get them to understand an issue, perhaps that they were not so open to understanding. And, in this interview, this gentleman right here with the glasses that you see, remind people that, hey, you have a black mom, you have a black grandmother, you have black folks in your family, black women in your family. What does that say about you that you're thinking this way? And they also bring up the whole idea of whether it's sexist or misogyny, or people just say, you know what, I don't think a woman should run this country. Watch.
Because like, if you think about it, you said you're a professional boxer and you care about the healthcare. Like Trump routinely tried to get rid of the ACA.
Yeah, I heard at the election where he was pretty much saying he wanted to get rid of it, but it's the close thing to an all right thing, so he'd rather keep that in place until he finds something better.
But when he was president,
How many times he tried to stop it? Tried to get rid of it.
over 30.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. But
It's wrapped too tight, too solid. He can't even get rid of it.
and when he was president, 200,000 African Americans lost health insurance.
Wow.
And then when you think about all the other things like pre-existing conditions, like diabetes, insulin in our neighborhood.
One of them.
Like he trying to, you're
One of them, I'm diabetic, and yeah, I needed medication before I got me a full-time job, and I needed it. You know what I mean, to stay alive. Insulin, metformin. You need this stuff.
When it comes to health and stuff like that, I think in our communities, one of the biggest things that we're struggling with also is mental health. What's being in place with that?
That's that one right there is very, 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 very important, and that's something that will be a collective. Mental health is very important.
And like the vice president, she's always saying, like, you have to treat your mind as if it's any other part of your body. And people that we see on the streets, they live in our communities, they go in and they have like mental health problems, but there's nothing physically ailing them. So they just turn them back because insurance companies don't cover it. So one, the vice president's expanding insurance coverages to be able.
Okay, so listen, healthcare is a very important issue, and misconceptions about healthcare. Remember, the whole mission of the Republican Party and Donald Trump was repeal and replace, repeal and replace. And I'm talking about the Affordable Health Care Act, or what they dubbed Obamacare. And everyone said, what did Barack Obama do for black people, whatever? They're talking about it now, healthcare for all people. But it's specifically, especially in our communities, in black communities, people have issues with mental health. They don't want to deal with them. Maybe you can pray it away or what have you, or they don't have access to care. They don't have the resources or the knowledge that they need in order to get themselves better. And the stigma is real around healthcare, around mental health, I should say. The stigma is real, and we need to stop that. There's no different than any other part of your body. But I want to go and I want to get to the part where they just talk about supporting a woman. Here it is. Keep going.
To cover mental health services.
Yes.
No disrespect. I guarantee you, in my opinion, about 80% of kids in Philadelphia suffer from PTSD. Stop you there, because I was a juvenile when I got feet, hands, everything. I got beat on by the police. You feel me? Like, I went to court, hands, face, everything. They took pictures. Nothing never happened to the police who beat me or nothing. You feel me? Like, I never got compensated or anything for anything that took in place. It just literally, wallah, it got overlooked.
And I'm glad you brought that up. That comes down to voting. Judges. Supreme Court is dominated by 6 conservative judges, 3 which were appointed by Donald Trump.
But it's like top to bottom too, because like we got this like presidential election, and like y'all heard of Project 2025? Like on police accountability, like the DOJ, right? And even like I said, voting rights, they protect everything. Like it's getting rid of the DOJ, like removing their independence to be able to like investigate. So we know
Get rid of who?
The Department of Justice. But I'm saying they should not feel like, oh, well, I run the Department of Justice, so if the president breaks the law, I can't take Donald Trump to court, or I can't take Joe Biden to court.
You should be able to, right?
Yeah, you should be able to. But he wants to remove that independence.
No, we can't remove it.
Yeah.
No.
If Donald Trump become president, he's going to be the closest thing to a dictator we ever seen. His whole goal, to me, it looked like for him to be the sole proprietor of everything, to say so. What's going to happen, what's not going to happen. That's kind of scary, man. Project 2025 is crazy when you look into it.
I got a question, though. Because you spend a lot of facts, and you know it. You just said Trump will be the closest thing to a dictator. That doesn't scare you enough to vote?
Well, not really, because that's why I'm here. I was open to the thought. I'd rather not be a part than be a part. I'm not gonna lie. Me watching the debate, it was a great fight. I ain't gonna lie, gloves off. It was a great fight. I was leaning more towards her. She made me feel better. The things that she was killing him. She was doing him so bad to the point where I understood everything she said in clear English. And for real, Donald Trump is all about himself and his people. She give me the hope to think she made me feel like she's gonna fight for me right now. So I need that. You feel what I'm saying? I need that. I'm leaning more towards voting for her. It's also scary because I was always raised on kind of like a female will never be a president also.
I think people need to look past, no offense, but I think people need to look past this whole gender thing.
Pause, please.
Black women are the backbones of our household.
Okay, this is a whole thing that the former President Barack Obama was getting to. About people coming up with every excuse other than the one that's in your face. I was raised, I hear it so many times. A woman can't be president. A woman should not be leading the household, shouldn't be leading the White House. She should be in the household. The man is the head of the house, blah, blah, blah. But they won't really admit that to themselves. Some of them may be consciously aware, but this gentleman was honest enough, candid enough to admit it, but there are others who won't. This is the heart of why I'm showing you this clip. Watch.
For sure they is.
So if they can raise us, they should be able to lead.
If we look around this room, it was a woman who did a lot for us. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't be who I am today.
If it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't have had a pair of clippers to start this barbershop.
So you look at it, women can lead in the household. They can lead in the neighborhoods. Why can't they lead in the White House? They deserve that opportunity because if you look at it, some of the biggest decisions was at the feet of a woman when it came to us. So now let's give them a chance to sit right there.
Vote means everything to me. Leadership, someone that understands community. Community is very, very important. So.
Well, I mean, that kind of gets it to the heart of what I'm talking about. But I just will tell you, if you should watch the entire thing because you will see it's something I think amazing about the honesty. Can you turn around? You got me in the dark. I'm good now. You're good. There's something amazing about the honesty, I think, in this. It's educational, it's raw, and it's honest. And I think these are the conversations that we should be having with everyone. We do something a little bit different, kind of similar, but a little bit different on the road where we talk to people, we hear what they have to say. Sometimes, I'll correct them or I'll try to give them some knowledge and information. And sometimes I just let them vent and let them say it because I want you to be able to hear it, okay? So we're on the road. We started off in Florida, in Orlando, and we went to the university there. And I want you to hear, I'll let you hear from a Trump supporter first. Someone who was, most of these kids said that they were undecided and then they just started to figure out, some of them haven't figured out yet, but they're just starting to figure out who they're going to support. This one is a Trump supporting first-time voter. Here it is.
Voter?
Yes.
You've already decided?
Yes.
Who'd you decide on?
Trump.
And based on?
The whole economy is just a lot better. Like me trying to find rent right now, it's like insane how much prices have gone up for everything. So I can't say I like him as a person, but his policies, that's what I agree with. There's been a bunch of stuff about him. I mean, I don't agree that his whole like felony stuff, I think that's all like not made up, but at least it's like it's a push to try to run him off. It's just what people are saying.
What are you going to do if the other person wins?
It's nothing I can do.
You'll be okay.
I hope so.
The country will be okay.
Probably not, but World War III.
Okay. So a lot of those things. Now, listen, you guys have to remember this. He is a first-time voter. He could be 18, 19 years old. So remember, he doesn't probably, I'm sure he doesn't remember a Barack Obama presidency, at least as someone who has, whose critical thinking skills are mature. He was probably 14 or so for when Donald Trump left office. So probably not paying attention to politics. And then now all of a sudden he has these views about, the economy and the state of affairs here in America. Just remember, he still probably is not paying his own bills and does not know the full effect of the economy. But he's a first-time voter, and those are the issues that he's voting on, whether they are real or whether they are he has inherited those views from adults and more mature people around him. This is a young lady who said she was undecided. I think she used the sort of lesser of two evils language. And again, we're not curating this. This is that we walk up to people, we ask them what they think, and we do not try to steer them in any direction. If I think that I can inform them in some way, I do. But a lot of these kids, first-time voters, students, are undecided, or they may not be voting in a way that you think that they may be voting. I'm just going to warn you and tell you. But here's one young lady. She is voting for the vice president here. Here she is.
For me, it's like a lesser of the two evils kind of thing.
Do you believe at this point that there are undecided people?
Oh, definitely. I was undecided for a while too. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should go third party. I don't even know if I should vote.
Everybody's not tuned in like people think, right? The people who are paying attention are like, I can't believe there's any undecideds out there. You actually sit there and do the research.
Sit there and do research, yeah.
Yeah. Good for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have to do your research, is what she said about it. And I agree. So there you go. So we are traveling around. We're so happy that you joined us again from the car. Here we are. And guess what? We did not lose a signal. It's quite different. We were going right across Pennsylvania and Ohio and those places. I guess Florida has some good internets over here. Okay, so thank you guys. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tune in on all of our different platforms. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're live on Instagram now, as a matter of fact, as well. We're live on TikTok a little bit earlier, and we're live here on Instagram. So make sure you follow us. Follow along our road trip in Florida for now, and then we'll hit you up. If you check our social media out, you can see our schedule, and maybe we can catch you in one of the towns that we're going to, okay? So I appreciate you joining us. It's been an hour almost exactly that we've been with you, and we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully at 10 a.m. I will let you know if something changes for our Hot Topic show, all right? We'll get to discuss some of the things that we have watched and witnessed overnight, okay? So from the road, adios until we see you again. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us with the algorithm. And also, we'd love for you to become a subscriber. So hit that button, too. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Eastern, so there's plenty of content for you to check out.